All right. Hey there. Welcome to another Talking Head. This is Rona'e Le'Shawn. And, I'm going to start this episode out with a bit of transparency. You hear me say in the intro that I struggled with doing this thing. The first couple of times, a few times, 5 times that I attempted this, I was in a different headspace. And, at that time, it wasn't so prevalent. The pandemic definitely changed the way that things have been pushed on social media. So at that time, I didn't feel as though I was in an addition or another talking head. What I felt like at the time, that I had some gems and things like that would be beneficial to the people. But I noticed this big expansion, and really it ties into. Let me finish my sentence for one. Sorry, guys. If I skip over words or something, it's because I have an extremely busy mind, as some of you may be able to relate. And what happens is there's a pile up. Like, I'll have all these thoughts that run into each other before my mouth can catch up. And sometimes I will skip over a word or something. So charge it to my head and not my heart. If you know what I mean and what I'm trying to say, then just keep up with your girl, okay? But there's just been an expansion of so many different people on social media, this push for content. And on another episode, and maybe on this episode, I'll elaborate with the push for content, the biblical part or the spiritual intention behind that. Because again, this is a spiritual war, whether we see life and whatnot in the physical. But anyways, the transparency, I almost didn't want to record today. I honestly didn't want to do a lot of stuff today. You ever just wake up in the morning and you're like, it's not that you're not grateful, especially for believers. It's not like you're not grateful. You wake up and you're like, okay, I made it through the night. He chose to extend my life again for another day, right? But then there's this flip side when after you wake up, you realize you have breath, you experience a level of gratitude. There becomes this heaviness of, but then I still have to participate in this system that I didn't ask to be a part of. And now I need to worry about what day is today, what date is it, do I have anything that I have to do, what bills are coming up, things like that, and immediately go into this mindset. And so I got up. I actually reset my alarm. So by the grace, the Father has been waking me up every morning. I asked him for something and he came through, which is going to tie into part of this episode, because we forget a lot of times his graciousness. But anyways, I got up this morning. It was the time that I had been prepped to get up, and I wanted to lay there. I actually set my alarm for an hour after, knowing that if I took a walk any later than when I leave, like I have a short period where I need to leave the house, because otherwise where I live at, it's hot, and if I wait 30 minutes past the time frame, I'm walking in heat, and an hour would have really had me just done. But so I set the alarm and I get up and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just get up. If you stop today, or if you put it off, you're going to start the pattern again, and then you're going to feel some kind of way. So I got up and I took a walk. Along my walk, I noticed there was a flood. I think I needed it, because here's the thing. One of the wrestles that I find myself in, that thankfully the Father has been putting certain things on my YouTube feed, because I'm not a big social media person. Like, every blue moon I'll pop on the Instagram, but usually the app is not even on my phone. But it popped up on YouTube, just different people that are wrestling in this season of what feels like exhaustion, and not just physical exhaustion, but like emotional, mental, spiritual exhaustion. And so today I took my walk, came home, took a shower, and laid in the bed until about 5 o'clock. And I was going to sit in the bed all day, and not so much doom scroll, but watch videos, on YouTube, because I just did not feel like doing today. And then something told me to get up and go to a coffee shop that's not far from where I stay, and it's an elderly couple. And the reason why this is important is because perspective changes a lot of things, and it shows how necessary it is for us as a people to bear witness with one another. So anyway, I go over to this coffee shop. Along my way, there's a homeless man. Now, this homeless man stays around the area. I live in a downtown area, and anybody that knows about downtown, even if you live in a nice apartment or it's gentrified, you still have the homeless people that's around usually. So I don't live far from a homeless shelter, but there's this one particular homeless guy. He's always outside. And I remember when I signed my lease, the manager was like, don't just stay clear of him because he's crazy and this and that. Ironically, something in my spirit told me to talk to him. And I've been, when I see him, I say hi. And it's funny because me thinking about this is getting me almost a little emotional. But, I was told to overlook him, so to speak. And I noticed, and I'm branching off a little bit, but this is all going to make sense. So just stay with me if you rocking or not. And charge it to my head and not my heart, please, for being distracted. Squirrel. Anyways, so I, periodically see this guy walking by. He goes to the dumpsters, looks for the cigarette butts around, on the floor or whatever, and he talks to himself. So for a moment, I was standing clear of him because I was like, something wrong with him. But then something told me, speak to him. So I speak to him. He's very manable. Yes, ma'am, whatever. And he said something to me that really got me, because it's a reminder of how we've been taught to discard one another, discard people that don't seem qualified or relevant. That's not the word I'm looking for, but it brings me into the mind of partiality, the scripture that talks about, if a man comes in fine raiment and you tell him to sit over here, basically in a good seat, and someone of a lower degree or in, ragged raiment or torn raiment, you tell them to sit on the floor. You get what I'm saying? Like, basically, you're in error. You give the man that has on the rags the same respect and pull him to the table too. And so anyways, I walk past this man. I say something to him, and he says to me one morning, he was like, he woke me up this morning. He woke me up this morning. To me, that says so much, because even without being homeless, a lot of us can attest to this. There is this weariness. There is this lack of gratitude. Sometimes we forget, how blessed we are in circumstances and how close we are to the homeless man than we are to the 10% or 1% or however. So anyways, sell this man up to overlook. So the point of this is I'm on my way now to this coffee shop. See this homeless man. I speak to him. He's like, yes, ma'am. Something. Exactly. He's very sound in his way of speaking. So, okay, whatever. So that was the first thing. So today went the way it went. I didn't feel like doing life. I decided to get up and go. I see this homeless man perspective now. While I'm sitting in my bed wallowing today, that just walking past him is a reminder. Not to mention, about 3 days ago on my walk, I decided to take another route. I see this man. He's laying under it's not even a bridge. It's like a ramp to a construction building that has just a little opening at the bottom. He literally lays on his back on a flat piece of whatever fabric and covers up with a fabric, but he's laying there. He was asleep, and I think about things like that. And I've been homeless before, more than once. Now, granted, I never had to sleep on the street. One time, and when it was on the side of a CVS on a basket, and I technically didn't even sleep there all night because I went to the emergency room that was across the street and went and hung out in the shelter. Okay. But to see that and to see how we handle one another, it was saddening. But the more so me wallowing, knowing that I'm getting ready to go back. I'm wallowing all day in my bed, okay, with my shelter, my AC, my comfortable pillows, you know what I mean, food in my fridge, electricity, just things that this man will probably kill for. So that was the first thing, okay? So I'm walking, perspective, boom, gut check, right? So then I go to this coffee shop, and this episode may be a little longer. I'm at 9 minutes or 10 minutes, but I've learned that if it's something that you're talking about something, which we talking about something, people gonna tune in. So it is what it is, right? I'm not even gonna let the pressure of time to make me feel a kind of way. If you rocking, you rocking. Who is for is who is for. So anyways, I get to this coffee shop, and the owners, this elderly couple, the husband has had a stroke in the past, so he only operates from one side of his body, which is his right side. He brings up the stuff, brings the food out. He got a little limp, you know what I'm saying, from having had a stroke. And so On my way there, so another thing happened. I'm backtracking real quick. After I see the homeless man, I'm still in my feelings though. Wallowing. I got a gloom face. I'm talking about my face downcast, just countenance is just sour. Okay, I had a little. It was a nugget for the perspective for the guy. But I walked by another man, and he said, "Smile." And I was so stuck in my frown or whatever sour puss face that I struggled to smile. And then there was a thing that happened. So now I get to this coffee shop. I start to speak to the owners, and we're in conversation, and I felt heavy. And immediately we started to just have conversation. But within the conversation, I noticed that I felt better. And here's the thing. I shared with him a revelation that the Father had shared with me a few weeks ago when it comes down to healing. And I feel as though, some of us understand and some of us don't. Some of us just naturally do a thing. But I truly believe that the beliefs that we've been taught about healing is what we see in these churches, where they speaking in a gibberish that they call spiritual tongues, but when you go into the real depth of it, it has nothing to do with the Father, right? It can't be interpreted or whatever, not to branch too far off, but we think of healing as in magic, putting your hands on somebody and they instantly heal. No, but what heals a person more, which is why I do believe that the instruction from the Father is bear your sins with one another so that you can be healed. Bear your burdens with one another. Encourage one another. Things like that. Because those things, when you say speak life or death, like, they say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And that's a lie. Because if you have a Father that spoke everything into, he uses his word to do things. His word has power. He's telling you the word has the tone and things like that from your mouth. There's life and death in the tongue that, you there's things that says that you speak a thing, right? And I feel like we've gotten this mindset of healing so backwards, and all people really need, in this conversation with this man, it was like the healing that the Father is talking about is very simple. If you see somebody going through something, you speak life to them, you hear them out, you bear witness, you let them know that you've either been there, you're going through it, they're not alone. And that changes things, because if you're exemplifying or, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess exemplifying the fruits of the Spirit. For instance, if you are bringing peace to a person that's in a world of chaos, that's healing. You know what I'm saying? If you're gentle to a person that's always dealing with abuse and aggressiveness, that's healing. If you speak in hope to somebody who feels beat down and defeated, that's healing. We have this mindset of, especially now with this whole self-love, self-healing movement and all this stuff. I didn't grow and I've done the work and all of this malarkey that I feel like is bogus, because we're human in a condition that we're very fragile and finite. You know what I'm saying? And flawed, and constantly being tested and tried. And you have these situations where we feel like if we are around somebody that's depressed, or we're around somebody that's still struggling to work through something, it's taking longer than our time frame. It's misery loves company. And I do believe that there are people who don't want no help. That's true. But then there are people that are just itching for somebody to say, you know what, you are not alone. And I can attest to this, because right now I'm in probably the craziest season, and whoever can relate to this, I'm bearing witness with you. You can bear witness with me, and we're going to do this thing together from afar. Okay. I'm in the craziest season that I've ever been in. As far as my faith, as far as where the Father has had me, he asked me to walk away from every familiar person and thing. So now I'm in this situation where I'm completely by myself. And granted, I have moments where I reach back sometimes, and then I'm plagued with the idea of remember Lot's wife, because I don't want to turn around and turn into a pillow of salt. But then there's these moments where I just need to connect with something or somebody to let me know that I'm not over here tripping, or that I'm actually worth being alive, and I say that, but that's a real feeling. Some of us, he has in isolated situations. And so for me, the season that I'm in is really just, I've spoken life over so many people throughout my life. It's actually mind blowing to me that I can't get nobody to bear witness, nobody to intercede for me, nobody to pray for me, nobody to hear me, and I'm learning how important it is for just to feel heard. I've reached out to people who I honestly feel like had the ability in with their spiritual understanding and wisdom to speak to a thing. And I shared it, but I was never given the opportunity, or they weren't even willing to hear. And what I found is that most of them only wanted to speak to the ones from afar. It's like, I can speak this to you, but I can't really speak this towards you, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but just nowhere for somebody to go, you know what, I actually hear that. Most of them are like, oh, I've come into this place where I don't have, the time for people that have not worked things out for themselves yet. And for me, it feels like a gut check, because I've always been the one on the side where I was dealing with broken people. I was dealing with hurt people to hurt people. I was dealing with people that was codependent. I was dealing with people, all that constantly pulled at me, wanted to switch places with me, all kind of stuff. Never on the end where I had a hard time being loved. I was always trying to love on the broken. And now here it is. I'm in a place where I feel broken, and nobody is around to reach out and touch me, or even go, you know what, girl, no, you're just in a season. You ain't lost your mind. Keep on holding on to the Father. He got you. You know what I'm saying? Something as simple as that, just in real time though, because I find that I'm listening to these podcasts, I'm listening to these videos, I'm talking to the Father, I'm crying out. And it's like, sometimes in real time, call me on the phone and tell me, you know what? The Father placed this on my heart, and I just want to speak a word over you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that those things are important. And it's kind of frustrating, because you look at social media and everybody is in this healed place. You know what I'm saying? Like, very seldom do you see somebody that's struggling, and if they on social media crying, and everybody got a lot of commentary. And so anyway, leaving out of this thing with this man, out of this coffee shop, not only did it bring me a lot of perspective, but the conversation was edifying. It was uplifting for me. It was necessary, because here it is. This man has had a stroke. He's only operating on one half of his body, and some of the wrestles that I think not just myself, but many of us go through is the war between being grateful where you are and then not being complacent though, because for me, I've grown up all my life, well, it could be worse. So that could be better part was never fought for. It was like the moment that I try to fight for better, and if it doesn't work out, I'm like, okay, well, at least I got this. It doesn't put you to push, because then there's this narrative that you're not being grateful. And so these are some of the wrestles that I'm in, because in this season, like financially, this is probably the best that I've done. I ain't got no behind bills. I ain't had to take out no loans. I ain't had to pawn nothing. I ain't had to, when I tell you the Father has made sure financially, but then there's other things that are going on that's like, dang, I can't have it all. You know what I'm saying? Like I never have a season where everything just works out. It's like, okay, I'm planting seeds. They don't grow. And then I run out of seeds. And at the time that I'm planting the seeds, the soil is bad. You get what I'm saying? But I'm still planting seeds because I got seeds to plant. And then by the time the soil is healthy, I don't got no seeds. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's always this give or take in my life that becomes frustrating, because it's like, I am grateful, but I'm miserably grateful. Like I feel like I'm being forced to be content in a situation where I desire more or desire better, but I cannot attain it no matter how hard I try, and that was another thing that played when I got up this morning. It was like, I don't really want to do this today. Like, I kind of want to be out of the equation of having to chase a thing that was never meant for us to chase in the first place. Like, I don't want to play in this satanic system. I don't want to pretend like I want to do this today. I don't want to pretend like I ain't wishing I was on an island somewhere without no bills. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna pretend like it ain't heavy that everybody is out here struggling in something that I know that the Father created for us for free. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't want to have to think about the fact that I'm being robbed of the very thing I'm supposed to have dominion over, So it was just a thing today. And just really, and also being gut checked by the Father, because in this walk also, it's easy to feel like we are serving a creator that does not see, does not hear, does not feel. And one helpful thing, so side note, I actually was going to end this, but there's more to say, so whatever. But today I was, while I was in my little wallow, okay, in the bed before I went to the coffee shop, the Perrys came on. I really admire Jackie Hill Perry. I love her story because it's so familiar to my walk and where I've come from and still struggling. I admire her strength and her faithfulness, because this walk ain't for the faint, okay? You are constantly dealing, if you're really on this walk, like she said, the Father ain't disciplining you. I don't know if you His, because you are in a constant state of sorrow, constant state of lamentation, constant state of repentance, constant state of dependence, you know what I mean? And constant state of really just trying to die to yourself daily. And it's not a happy walk. Like, everybody make it seem like it's a happy walk. It's not. But anyway, their podcast popped up, and it was something in the lines of, when you don't feel like praying, and she's like, you can see how the Father uses her mightily. She has a massive platform. She's very biblically sound and taught, well versed in scriptures. You can tell she knows and has an intimate relationship with the Father, because she expresses Him in ways that I've experienced Him, but it was a confirmation, because she's like, yeah, y'all look at me and think that most of the time I don't want to play. Like, I don't want to pray. I don't want to talk to the Father. And she mentioned something about, being in the shower. And she's like, but Father, you are invisible. But you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it feels like you're talking to yourself. And it does. It feels like He does not see, He does not hear, He does not feel, right? And I remember having a moment, this entire season feels like He doesn't feel, hear, or care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been getting mollywopped in the spirit. I mean, the enemy been beating me over my head. I'm like, can I even just stand up, bro? You fighting me, and I ain't even bust a grape yet. Like, I must be getting ready to bust a vineyard. You know what I'm saying? But so, side note, anyways, but I was having a conversation and wallowing with the Father, and He reminded me. He was like, you think that I don't know betrayal. Don't you think that I felt betrayed when I created, and my creation went against me? And not only that, convinced a third of my creation, and not only that, warred against one of my most precious creations, and have been warring with me for centuries. You don't think that I know betrayal, right? And then He's like, you don't think that I know sorrow. You don't think that it didn't pain me when I had to destroy what I created? You know what I'm saying? And another thing that came, this was a couple of years ago, by a young lady named Rona'e. She's super dope too. I like the way the Father uses her and how she explains certain things. And she has a really dope book out too. Couple books out, Undignified and something else. I can't remember, Unraveled. But it's like a love story. It's a really great read. But she was explaining a revelation that the Father had given to her, and it was about jealousy. We perceive His jealousy as this carnal envy, whatever type of way that we interpret jealousy, but really it's a protectiveness. It's like, here it is, I'm all things good, right? I know that I don't need you. You need me. And I'm actually the best of the best of the best, but you don't know that. And I am protective. I am jealous over you. I'm jealous over the things that I have for you. That is your inheritance. I don't want nobody else to take it. I don't want the enemy to snatch it and steal it from you. So, just certain things as far as understanding the Father. And so I was like, that's actually a really dope revelation. Not only does He feel betray, He feels sorrow. He talks about it in Jeremiah that He pleads, like, I am begging you to turn back to me, please, like, just come home. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes those are difficult, but I do think that the job, like, I strongly believe that the reason why a lot of us are feeling so isolated, empty, forgotten, unseen, is that we're not doing the work that we are designed to do as His human beings. We are supposed to be ambassadors for Him. We're supposed to do His work here for one another. When He talks about the greatest commandments, there are only 2 real commandments. And everything else flows from that. You love Him with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your strength, and you love your neighbor as yourself. But you cannot get to self-love in the way that He's explaining it. Not this self-idolatry, but you can't get to self-love until you actually learn His character and accept His word about what He says about how you were made in His image. But here's the problem. majority of us feel so inadequate by how love has been interpreted and communicated to us that his love seems so outlandish. We don't even know how to receive it. I know I don't know how to receive it because everything in my life has communicated that I'm not worth loving. I'm not worth the extra mile. I'm not worth the check-in. I'm not worth the intercession. I'm not worth the show up. I'm not worth the commitment. Like everything has communicated that. So then when you're dealing with a all-knowing, all wise, all intentional, all loving, all things great Father, and you know you a wretch, you was out here busting it wide open and smoking marijuana, and just, I know my story, I was doing the most, and then still have him turn around and give me breath. Even just that, you know what I mean? It's like perspective. But just sitting in a place of gratitude, sitting in a place of really trying to connect, and really, really carrying out the thing that we're supposed to do with one another. Like this whole mindset of, oh, I can't really talk to you till you healed, or I got this mask on that says that because I'm in a season where I don't feel broken no more, I can't ever go back to that. You know what I mean? I've been in seasons where I thought I was in a wilderness that broke me, but baby, this season, I pray that I don't go through a wilderness worse than this, because this one, I be praying and I'm like, Father, I pray I make it out. I don't know if I'm going to make it out alive, because this right here, bruh, got me sitting on something that I definitely need his strength to carry me through, because this one right here is definitely trying to take me out, and we do. We need to be there for one another, not carry a person, you know what I'm saying? But even if you have to carry them for a season, then that may be what you're called to do, and give each other the level of grace that the Father has given. You know what I'm saying? We don't give ourselves the grace. I know I don't, and we don't give it to other people. The story of Job is a prime example about how we're supposed to friendship with one another. Now, granted, we're not supposed to be like the first two or whatever, but just showing that this man is going through a tribulation in his life, and his friends came and just sat with him. Whatever emotion he was going through, whatever bitterness, whatever questioning, whatever it was that this man was going through, his friends just came and sat with him. I think those things speak volumes in our need for one another, in our need for each other to bear witness to things that we're going through, we're struggling with, we're having a hard time with. I feel like if everybody had the time or the capacity to really work on our own and give ourselves the grace, and you know what I mean, we would probably be able to sit with other people. And I remember in my coaching, a lot of the times it's like, one of the reasons why I left corporate America, and I'm gonna end this at 30 minutes. Every time when I left the corporate thing, it was because I did not want to be told how long it was going to take for me to grieve a family member. And I remember feeling like, you are giving me 3 days of bereavement, but what if it takes me 3 months for my heart to get better or be okay with this loss? What if it takes me 3 years? It's like a lot of the times with just time in general, we're impatient. And I do think that the way that things are constructed makes us impatient, because we're in this time constraint. The enemy has created a system that really robs us of our time, because he knows it's limited, But anyways, off the topic of time, one of the things the Father also has been really drilling into me is the fact that he created time. You know what I mean? Time is under his command. Time is under his order. Time is under his authority, and he can speed up, slow down, whatever, regardless of what the world is doing. There are still prophecies. Yeah, they have their 2030 agenda, and they got all of this stuff the enemy is trying to do, but he is not in control of the time. So the Father can frustrate their entire plan and literally throw them off for another 20 years, and AI can just go in and sit where it sit. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever the case may be, he is in control of that. So, I just try to stay mindful and stay close. And this episode really was super random. Didn't even plan on doing it, but it's really just being content, being in perspective, and then just going out here and loving on one another. And like my grandmother will always say, if I can help one somebody as I travel along, then my living shall not be in vain. So go out here and love on your brethren and on your sister, and extend yourself, lend your ear, give a hug, speak a word, pray for people, pray with them, cry with them, whatever it is, be with them, love on each other, because that is what we are supposed to do, and do it genuinely. Even if you can listen for a moment, listen, because we need it. And like I said, go out here and love on the people that you can see. And if you cannot love the ones in whom you can see, then how can you love the Father in whom you can? So till next time, come back and see me.